All right, so you know all about these mysterious drones, right? Like, it seems like everybody's talking about them.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, I haven't seen this kind of buzz around a story in a long time.
Seriously, it's like straight out of an X-Files episode. You've been sending us tons of stuff, news articles, eyewitness accounts, even a statement from former President Trump.
And it's not just the sheer number of reports, it's where these drones are showing up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're talking residential areas, airports, military bases, you name it.
Exactly. So what we're going to do today is try and get to the bottom of this.
Right, like, what are these drones? What are they doing? And why is everyone so hush-hush about it? First off, the sightings started back in November over New Jersey.
November 18th, to be exact.
And since then, there have been an average of 92 sightings per night.
That's a lot of drones.
Mm-hmm.
And the reports describe them in different ways. Some small, some massive, some stationary, some moving in formation.
Yeah, and some people even say they look like small airplanes with these like weird white blinking lights.
It's a real mixed bag of descriptions, which makes it even harder to figure out what we're dealing with.
And here's the thing. The FBI says they've received over 3,000 tips about these drones.
But they claim that less than 100 warrant further investigation. So what about the other 2,900? What's going on there?
It's like they're saying, we know something you don't know, which of course just makes people even more curious.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where we come in.
Right. We're diving deep into this mystery. We've got experts, first-hand accounts, and we're going to try to piece together what's really going on.
We'll even hear from Donald Trump. He had some pretty interesting things to say about these drones back when he was president-elect.
Oh, yeah, he did. So buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride.
All right, so let's kick things off with someone who knows a thing or two about drones. Michael B. He's a seasoned drone pilot and the CEO of Terror Talk. He actually tried to investigate these mystery drones himself.
And things got pretty strange, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. So B was trying to fly his own drone near Morristown Airport, but couldn't get clearance.
Makes sense, right. It's restricted airspace.
Exactly. But here's the thing. These mystery drones were flying around in the same restricted airspace. No problem.
So they're ignoring the rules that everyone else has to follow. That's already pretty suspicious.
Right. And it gets even weirder. B said that when he tried to approach one of these mystery drones near a military base, his drone malfunctioned, just lost power completely.
What? Seriously?
Then the mystery drone, totally fine, just kept on going.
So, hold on. These things can, like, disable other drones?
That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
And B thinks it might be some kind of advanced government tech, something they're not telling us about.
Okay. So we've got secret drones flying around restricted airspace, possibly disabling other drones, and the government's not saying anything.
It's a recipe for a whole lot of questions and distrust.
And it doesn't help that the official statements have been, well, let's just say confusing.
Yeah, confusing is one way to put it. At first, officials were saying most of these sightings were just manned aircraft, like planes or helicopters.
Right. But then they kind of had to backtrack and admit that, okay, some of them are definitely drones.
Yeah. That whole back and forth didn't exactly inspire confidence.
Plus, the FBI and DHS are saying there's no threat to national security or public safety.
Which a lot of people find hard to believe.
Right.
I mean, hundreds of unidentified drones flying around. That doesn't sound very safe to me.
Especially when you have lawmakers like Connecticut State Senator chiming in. She's been pretty vocal about this whole thing.
Yeah, she's expressed a lot of concern about the lack of transparency from the federal government.
And get this. She even suggested that maybe they should just shoot down these unidentified drones if they can't figure out what they are.
Oh, shoot them down. That's a pretty drastic measure.
Yeah, but it shows you just how much this whole thing is freaking people out.
And it's in not just the average person, even Donald Trump. When he was president-elect, he weighed in on this whole drone situation.
Yeah, he did. I actually remember when that happened. It was like right after the election.
So Trump basically said that the military knows exactly where these drones came from and where they went, but they're choosing not to tell anyone.
Which, let's be honest, kind of adds fuel to the whole conspiracy theory fire.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, what are they hiding? Why all the secrecy?
And Trump even joked about canceling a trip to Bedminster because of these drones.
Which is, well, it's Donald Trump, so it's hard to know if he was being serious or not.
Right. But either way, his comments definitely added to the public's fascination with this whole mystery.
And it makes you think, if the government's not telling us anything, maybe the answers are out there somewhere else.
Maybe with the people who've actually seen these drones firsthand.
Yeah, like eyewitnesses.
Yeah.
They're the ones who can tell us what these things really look like, how they move, what they're doing.
And we've got some pretty incredible eyewitness accounts to share, like one from a journalist named Rich McHugh. He was actually a skeptic at first.
Yeah, he didn't believe all the hype. Thought it was probably just a bunch of hot air.
But then he saw these drones with his own eyes. And let me tell you, he changed his tune pretty quickly.
Yeah, seeing is believing.
Right. And what McHugh described was pretty mind-blowing.
He said they looked like fixed-wing aircraft. Not your typical drones. With multiple lights in formation. About 8 to 10 feet wide.
And get this. The Ocean County Sheriff's Department actually tried to intercept these drones with their own drones.
Like a drone chase. That's straight out of a movie.
But they couldn't keep up. These mystery drones just vanished.
Gone.
Yeah.
Like they were never there.
It's like they were playing a game of hide and seek with law enforcement.
And here's another interesting detail. McHugh said these drones didn't emit any heat.
Which is weird.
Right.
Because most drones do emit heat. That's how they work.
So what does that mean? Are these things using some kind of super advanced technology, something that we don't even know about yet?
It's definitely possible. And that's what makes this whole thing so intriguing. We're dealing with something that's completely outside of our understanding. It's like we've stumbled onto a whole new level of technology. And we're just trying to catch up.
And the scariest part, we don't even know who's behind it all.
Yeah, who's pulling the strings? What's their agenda? Are they watching us?
These are all questions that we need answers to.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to find those answers right here, right now.
I mean, it's one thing to talk about these drones, from like a technical standpoint.
Right.
But what about the people who are actually seeing these things? Like, what are they experiencing?
Yeah, I mean, these eyewitness accounts, they really give you a different perspective.
Totally. And like you said earlier, it adds that human element to this whole thing.
Absolutely. It's not just data points and official reports. These are real people having real encounters.
Exactly. And some of these accounts are, well, they're pretty chilling, to be honest.
Oh, for sure. Some of them are downright spooky.
Yeah, take this one, for example. This is audio from a 911 call made by an Ocean County Sheriff's deputy. He was one of the first to officially report the drones.
Oh, wow.
Give it a listen. They were coming in from the ocean. 50 of them. At least 50. I've never seen anything like it.
Whoa, 50. That's a lot. And coming in from the ocean, that's pretty strange.
Right, like imagine being that deputy, seeing all those unidentified objects just appearing out of the sea.
I mean, I'd be freaked out.
Totally. And it seems like that feeling of unease is pretty common among people who've seen these drones.
Makes sense. I mean, something like that, it kind of shakes your sense of reality.
Yeah, here's another clip. This one's from a New Jersey resident who saw them from her backyard.
Okay, let's hear it.
It was like something out of a movie. These lights, all in formation, moving silently across the sky. My kids were terrified.
Yeah, that word terrified, it really hits home. Like, this isn't just some cool sighting. It's genuinely scary for some people.
And it makes you wonder, what are these things doing? Why are they here?
Right. Are they just observing? Or there's something more to it?
And remember that journalist Rich McHugh, who went from skeptic to believer?
Yeah. What about him?
Wow. You sent us some of his footage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You actually have the footage. Let's see it.
There's one right there.
See it.
And another one just behind it. They're moving so fast, it's hard to keep up with them.
Huh. It's hard to tell for sure with the quality, but those lights, they do seem to be moving in a pretty deliberate way.
Right. And McHugh, he's not some easily spooked guy. He's a journalist. He's supposed to be skeptical.
Exactly.
Right.
So if he's saying this is real, it makes you take it a little more seriously.
And that's what's so frustrating about this whole thing. You have these official statements downplaying the threat, but then you have these eyewitness accounts that paint a totally different picture.
It's like, who are you supposed to believe?
Right. And it just makes the whole thing even more mysterious.
It's like we're trying to solve a puzzle, but we're missing half the pieces.
And the pieces we do have, they don't quite fit together.
Exactly. It's a real head scratcher.
So where does that leave us? With
Yeah.
all these unanswered questions, all this uncertainty, what are we supposed to make of this whole mystery?
Well, it seems like the drones themselves are just one part of a larger conversation. They become a symbol, in a way, for the anxieties of our time, this unease about government transparency, the fear of the unknown, the constant struggle to make sense of a world that feels increasingly complex.
That's a really good point. And it brings us back to you, the listener. What do you think about all this? Have you looked up at the night sky and wondered, what's really going on up there?
Perhaps the most unsettling thing isn't the drones themselves, but the void of clear answers, the silence that surrounds them. It allows our minds to wander, to speculate, to fill in the blanks with our own fears and suspicions.
That's a great point. And you know what? It's like you said earlier, in an age of information, not knowing can be the most unsettling thing of all. So let's keep digging, keep exploring, keep asking why. Who knows what we might uncover? You know, it's like we're constantly searching for information, right? But in this case, it's that lack of information that's really unsettling.
Yeah, it's like the more you know, the less you know, or something like that.
Exactly. And these eyewitness accounts, they bring us back to that human element, the raw experience of encountering something truly unknown.
Right. It's a reminder that this isn't just some abstract concept.
Yeah.
It's something that's affecting people's lives.
Okay, so let's hear a few more of those accounts. We have that Ocean County Sheriff's deputy again. This time he's describing what happened after those drones appeared over the water.
Oh, wow. What happened? Did they try to communicate? Did they land?
They just hovered there for a while, like they were watching us. Then they all took off at once, just disappeared.
Whoa. Just like that. No warning, no explanation. That's creepy.
Right, like they were just observing, taking notes, and then poof, gone.
It's like something out of a science fiction movie.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And it seems like that feeling of being watched, of being observed by something unknown, it's a common thread in these accounts.
Makes you wonder what they're looking for, what they're seeing.
Here's another clip. This one's from a local fisherman who was out on the water when he encountered the drones.
Oh, wow. What did he have to say?
I've been fishing these waters for 30 years and I ain't never seen nothing like it. They were all lit up like a string of Christmas lights, but moving fast, real fast. Made me feel like I was in one of them Twilight Zone episodes.
A Twilight Zone episode? That's a pretty apt description.
Right. It's like that feeling of things are not as they seem.
Like something's off. Something's not quite right.
And that brings us to a really important question. Are we overreacting to all of this?
That's a tough one. I mean, it's easy to get caught up in the speculation and the fear of the unknown.
Especially when you have so little information to go on.
Right. But then again, you have those accounts from pilots who claim they've nearly been intercepted by these drones.
Yeah, that's not something you can just dismiss as, oh, it's just a weather balloon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those incidents raise some serious safety concerns. If these drones are operating in the same airspace as commercial aircraft, that's a potential disaster waiting to happen.
So what are we supposed to do? Just sit here and twiddle our thumbs while the government figures out if they want to tell us anything?
Well, we can keep asking questions. Keep the pressure on demand transparency.
Right. Like we don't have to just passively accept this lack of information.
Exactly. We have a right to know what's going on in our own airspace.
And maybe, just maybe, by shining a light on this mystery, by talking about it, by sharing information, we can start to find some answers.
I think that's the key, keeping the conversation going, keeping people engaged, because the more we talk about it, the more likely it is that we'll eventually get to the truth.
Exactly. And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has given you something to think about, maybe even inspired you to do some digging of your own.
It's like we might not have all the answers yet, but the search for those answers, that's what's really important.
Keep looking up, stay curious, and don't be afraid to ask the tough questions. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.